So I have with me today Polly Hupfeld. Did I do that right, Polly?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Polly Hupfeld. We're going to be meeting Polly in person here in a few weeks. Polly is connected with Meals of Hope, the organization that we'll be doing our meal packing event with on November 3rd. And so welcome, Polly.
Thank you. I'm glad I can join you.
Tell us a little bit about Meals of Hope and how you got involved.
All right. Well, I actually got involved with Meals of Hope because I used to sell them ingredients, product that they use at their events.
Okay.
So that's my connection to them. And then I really love the idea of how they were helping people. You know, it's all about feeding. We don't just do the meal packaging like we're going to do with you folks, but we also do 11 mobile food pantries a week in Naples, Florida, along with 10,000 weekend backpacks a month down in those counties.
Okay.
So we're not just working with groups like you to feed your communities, we're feeding all over. You know, it's nationwide, and we do international work too, but the majority stays local. I joined Meals of Hope about 3 years ago, but I've been packing meals for about 12 years.
Oh my, okay, okay.
Yeah. It's just the heart of Meals of Hope that, you know, they've got this desire to feed, and they'll do anything they can to make sure people can feed, whether they're doing a minimum amount of meals or we're doing, you know, 1 million meals in 2 hours. It's, I worked with another program at one point that it became about the money. And that's when I left, because I just, it isn't about making money. This is about feeding hungry people. And that's the draw to Meals of Hope for me.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was you and I that talked about this, but sometimes the meals that Meals of Hope puts out looks to someone who lives in like our neighborhood, looks like something that belongs in Haiti.
That's right.
And
yeah. That's the difference between starvation, food insecurity, and, you know, the need. There's so many people right now that, you know, down in Naples, it's the working poor. You know, you have the very rich people there. You have the people that are working, but they don't make enough to take care of their families.
Sure.
So they can't get help, but they you know, they can't get assistance, but they are working. And it's just that's just a hard niche to fill. You know, they can't just run to a food bank every day. So that's where we step in down there. So we get what you're talking about there, as far as, you know, in your neighborhood, the need might not seem so high, but who would think in Naples, Florida, that 62% of the kids would be on free and reduced food meals?
My goodness.
62%. I was shocked. I thought it was just a rich retirement area, you know.
Well, and it looks like it. I mean, you drive through it, and it's pretty ritzy down there.
Yeah, and right here in Eldora, we did 50,000 meals this spring, and we're at about those same numbers. So.
Really, really.
Yeah, people don't think it's happening in their backyard, but it is.
So you mentioned food insecurity versus starvation. What do you mean by food insecurity?
The difference, a good way to say it, you know, if I took my kids when they were, say, 10, and I put a plate of broccoli on the table, they don't like broccoli. They didn't really eat that day, but they're not going to eat it because they don't like it. They'll just wait till tomorrow. Or people that are starving, whatever you put in front of them, they're going to eat it. They're hungry. So to me, that's kind of that difference of how you define food insecurity from hunger.
Okay.
And, you know, it's those people you're talking about, the homeless, that they're hungry. They're not just insecure. They don't know where their next meal's coming from.
Yeah. That is very, very interesting. You know, obviously that doesn't negate the call to help those who are food insecure, but we just have to find a different way to help them.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, the pantries come into play for them.
Right.
So, where you said your program you're going to work with goes into these homeless camps, which is awesome. That they're going right to those folks who may not have a way to get to the food bank. You know, so that's great.
That's right. And in fact, what JAPA does is they actually have a van that goes around from camp to camp once a week.
Very nice.
And they'll even take, you know, they'll even say, so what is it you need? If we don't have it this week, we'll bring it next week. Evidently, the packaged meals like this are just going to go like crazy for these folks. And obviously now we're coming into the winter months. Most of these people live in tents, and they're all squatters. They're all in a place that doesn't belong to them, property that doesn't belong to them.
Right.
But there is extreme need there.
And we're just also, we're fortunate, we're blessed. We really need to appreciate that we aren't in that position and help the people that are.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna throw you a curveball now, and I promised I wouldn't do that, but I'm going to. Because in a conversation I had this week with one of my parishioners, and this parishioner, good faithful person, she talks about trying to wrap her head around someone in the United States who, it feels like when you help them, sometimes it's like they do that instead of working. You know, you follow what I'm saying? So they live on food stamps rather than working. They run the pantry circuit and rather than going to work.
Right.
This person, you know, she would say, I've been indoctrinated in that since I was a kid, and you know, I live by a work ethic myself, but I'm also beginning to understand what you're seeing here in terms of, and beginning to have some sympathy for what's happening. How do you take on all of that?
I've had that conversation with my daughter when she was younger. You know, we'd see somebody standing on a corner asking with their sign for $1 or, you know, whatever, and I'd always give it, because I guess to me, whether you're truly in need standing on that corner or you're just there playing the system, you know, I guess to me, I feel that person needs help. They feel the need to stand on a corner and ask for help. I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, actually, you're going in a great direction here. That, I think, yes.
Yeah, to me, we're supposed to help our neighbors, have giving hearts, and it's not our place to judge those people. To me, that's between them and God, and they're going to someday, if they were playing the system or not doing to the best of their ability with what God gave them, that'll be between them. But to me, if somebody's at our food bank or they're at our pantry or they're on the street and they need help, I'm going to help them.
So and this is great. So it's more about my heart than it is about their heart.
It's more about, yeah. Well, I mean, we're taught from the time we start in, you know, church as a young child, at the daycare in school, that you take care of your neighbor.
Right.
And that's what's in me. You know, that's one thing that drew me again to Meals of Hope is, you know, they give, they help, they look for ways to help other than what we're doing. So I don't know. I just hope I'm never in that position, and I hope if I am, there's somebody like me that'll say, you know what, I'm not going to question her. She needs some help. Yeah.
And of course, you know, that was the beauty of what Jesus did. And now this gets into my sermon a little bit. What Jesus did was he took away all judgment on people, and instead saw people as people who were hurting and with needs.
Right.
And he even saw that with the people that were judging others.
Yes.
Although sometimes he got in a tangle with them, right?
You know, it's sometimes hard, but we have to try and do the best we can to not make those judgments. You know, we were talking when I used to work with a group that mainly did international meals, you know, and everybody's like, well, you know, why do you do international? Because some of your meals are going to go international.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know, the one thing, you know, is here there are programs, if the people can get to it, if they can get signed up, there's something they can try to get to. But you get in those third world countries and there's nothing, you know, there's absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
So you need to help there too. So I think it's great. You're going to send some meals to Haiti we're going to use Convoy of Hope to get those over there.
Yep.
They'll move those.
Well, Polly, I can't thank you enough for coming in and doing this with me. And with the
Excited to meet you all in person.
I can't wait as well. And once again, November 3rd, right?
November 3rd.
And you'll be here in the morning and we'll get it rolling.
We'll get you set up and we'll be ready to roll for the evening.
Sounds good. Polly, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Is it coming through? I can never tell. Is it okay? All right, good. Yeah. And welcome to all of you who are watching online. It's good to be here, good to be at the church. I have to tell you, I was here on Friday morning, and I was here earlier than everybody else, but then the women started coming in, and they started bringing out a couple boxes, and they said, is it okay if we just put a few things around up front here? And I said, sure. I had no idea. My goodness, that's a crowd there. That's a crowd. And these are the packs, right?
Yeah. School kits and the fabric.
Fabric up here, school kits here, and of course, all of the lovely quilts here. Thank you very much. It's just amazing what happens here behind the scenes, isn't it? So the lesson that Susan just read, and wasn't that an exciting lesson? Oh my. Give you a little background on it. It comes from the book of Job, and as the story goes, Job is this golden boy. He lives a charmed life. He has 7 sons. He has 3 daughters. He has livestock. I mean, he's a cattle feeder to beat the band. This guy is making lots and lots of money. He has wealth. He has riches. He has his health. And as it says in the book that's named after him, there is no one on earth like Job. And, of course, God's pretty proud of him. And so God gets in a conversation with Satan, okay? But it's not kind of normally when you think of Satan, it's like a red hood and horns and all this sort of pitchfork. That's not what this Satan is. Satan is called the adversary. He's the accuser. And he's kind of a partner with God in a way. So he's part of God's posse, right? At least in this time and place in the Old Testament. And so he's talking to God, and God says, he's starting to crow about Job a little bit. He said, take a look at my boy Job. That is the model of faithfulness. Because the other thing, along with all this prosperity that Job has, he worships God, and he's faithful to God completely and without reservation. He gets up every morning to worship God and to leave a sacrifice. He makes sure that whatever his life is connected with God. And so, God says this. Look at this guy. He's faithful. And the accuser is one who accuses people of wrongdoing. The accuser goes to God and says, there's a reason he's so good. You've put a fence around Job, God. You are protecting him. And if that fence were gone and that protection removed and he were to lose everything, I'll bet he won't be quite so faithful. And that's what happens to Job. He starts losing things right and left, and in a big hurry. In the space of just a few verses, his family is caught up in some kind of catastrophe. They're all killed. He loses his wealth. He loses his possessions, and he loses his health. It's all gone. And he went from this golden boy, leading this charmed life, to someone who is this model of suffering. Absolutely in despair. The suffering is profound, the grief is unspeakable, and his physical pain is beyond belief because of all the sores that are all over his body. He went from golden boy to that. So enter Job's 3 friends. And would you please put up that slide? Here it comes. And I have to tell you, the only reason I have this slide for you is because I'm terrible with names. So I have them up there in front of me as well. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Leave it up there for a few minutes because I'm going to be referring to them, and I forget names really easily. So these 3 friends, they have heard about Job's problems, and so they come and find Job. Except when they meet up with him, they don't even recognize him at first. He is a shell of his former self. That's how bad things have gotten. And so the friends gather around Job, and they care for him, and they listen to him, and they spend an entire week with him, even as he curses the day he is born. They're right there beside him. The model friends, right? The kind of friend that everyone would want, right? not so much. So the week transpires, and they've not left him the entire week. Week transpires, and then one at a time, starting with Eliphaz, they start talking to Job. They start counseling him, quote unquote counseling. And so it starts with Eliphaz, and basically what he says, he says, Job, I know you're hurting. We feel so badly about it. He says, and please, don't take offense, but I'm only thinking about you, Job, and I have to say these things because I'm your friend. He's going to do a little tough love thing. He says, Job, you know how the world works. The world works like this. If you're good, good things happen to you. If you are not righteous, there's punishment. Job, you're in a sorry state. What in the world did you do to deserve this? Some friends, huh? Well, for the next several chapters, this goes on. There's a conversation between each of the friends and Job, and each one of the friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, see I'm looking, Zophar, they all take their shot at him, okay? Until finally we get to where Susan is, and the longer we get into the story, the more we get into the story, the more strident and judgmental it becomes. So much so that they just have no respect for him whatsoever. That's what you heard with Susan's reading. What did you do wrong, Job? You know how it works. Only the righteous will prosper. Come clean. Tell us what happened. Stop defending yourself. You're in this situation because of something you've done. Repent, and God will smile on you again. Only one problem with this. Job didn't do anything wrong. And that leads to another problem. The problem of the way religion speaks with its head and not with its heart. So much so that these three friends, they become Job's judge, don't they? And they've got it all down. They've got all the answers. They have this vast amount of impressive religious information and knowledge, and they use it all to build a box to put Job in. And the box is sinner. The box is judgment. The box is you've done something wrong. And they're doing this to someone who's hurting and lost and alone. And by the way, let me also say this. Job is innocent. He didn't do anything wrong, but it does not matter. It doesn't matter if he's completely innocent of anything that he's done or if he's completely responsible for his current state. This is a hurting soul, and that's all that matters to God. And we in the religious business, we sometimes forget that. We have this idea that we can just figure everything out. We can apply our religious knowledge. We can apply our understanding of the Bible. We can apply all of those things and say, you're right, you're wrong, you belong in this box, you belong in that box. And we do it all the time. We confuse the fact that religion, we don't want to check our brains at the door. We're called to seek understanding. But we confuse head for heart. Because I will tell you that with our God, the heart always, always, always trumps the head. The heart is the source of everything that we are and everything we do and all the ways that we see the people around us. Nothing else matters. And it's not just here in the book of Job I'm talking about. It's all over the scriptures. Here's one for you. If I speak in the language of mortals, and if I have all understanding and all prophecy, and if I give my body to be burned, give up everything that I have, but I have not love, I am nothing and I gain nothing. If I have faith so that I can remove mountains but do not love, it's all for nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious. It's not boastful. It does not demand its own way. It does not seek the wrong, but it always seeks the right in everyone it meets. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And all of our understanding, and all of our wisdom, and all of our judgment, and all of the ways that we can know this faith, if there's no love to it, we're missing the point. Because all we do on this side of life, on this side of eternity, is see things dimly, like shadows. But someday we'll see face to face. And what we will see then is we will see a God who has a heart for you and for me and for everyone else in this world. And it is his heart that becomes our heart. And you know how it ends. Say it with me. Now faith, hope, love, abide. These three. But the greatest of these is love. Let's stop. So, Meals of Hope and Polly, what a remarkable interview that was. It was so much fun. And I have to tell you, our friend, and I hope all of you get a chance to meet her on the 3rd, our friend Polly's got it right. She's got it down. We're not here to create boxes. And actually, my friends, there's only 3 boxes that matter. A box called human, a box called brother, a box called sister. Those are the only 3 boxes that matter. But they all fit in the same box. Child of God. That's it. And you know, it's not our place, as Polly said, to determine motives of others. And it's not our place to decide whether someone is right or someone is wrong. I mean, that kind of stuff is way above our pay grade. The only thing that is right is this: that God has put in front of us people who are hurting, and people who are lost, and people who are alone. That's it. And our job is not to decide who deserves it and who isn't. God just put them there so that we can help them, so that we can love them, so that we can maybe change their lives, and in the process, our lives will be changed too. Because I will tell you with certainty from personal experience that as you give of yourself, you get as much, if not more, out of it than the receiver of that gift. One other thing occurs to me. And this is not to say that God keeps on troubles to people. Troubles are just a part of this life and this world. It's just the way it is. But what God does with those troubles is very special. Because those troubles are God's key to the door of hurting souls. And he gives you that key. Why? Because he first opened the door to your hurting soul. And he says, now take the key and use it. Don't decide who belongs, who doesn't belong. Don't decide who deserves it, who doesn't deserve it. Just use the key. And as you do, God will use what you do to bring others closer to him. And for that we give God thanks and praise. Amen.